Rising interest rates have caused many to believe that now is not a good time to buy a rental property, when in fact it might be one of the best times. You just can't use traditional means. So I'm going to walk you through how to buy a rental property using rent to own, all with little to nothing down. I'm going to tell you why it's a great way to go over using a traditional mortgage. And then at the end, I'm going to give you some tips and resources so that you can start looking for rent to owns by yourself. So let's jump into it. Hey, what's up guys? I'm Ben Sun. Welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome for the first time. I don't just talk about fun, creative ways to build your rental empire. I also talk about things like personal finance, investing, and real estate. So if you're interested in that, you got to hit that big red subscribe button. So let's first define what rent to own is. Rent to own is when you find a willing seller. I'll tell you how to do that more later. And you enter into a contract and you say that you're going to rent the property. Let's say for $1,000 a month for 2 years. Then at the end of that 2-year period, you agree to buy the property, let's say for $300,000. And a portion of that $1,000 per month goes to pay down the $300,000 balance. So let's say 500 out of the 1,000 is going to pay down the balance. So at the end of the 2 years, you'll have paid $12,000 down on the property. Now, there are two major ways to do this. The first is called a lease option. The lease option is where you rent the property and you have the option to buy the home at the end. This is more beneficial if you're planning to live in the home and you're kind of uncertain about what you want to do. The other one is called the lease purchase. This is where you have to purchase the property at the end of that 2-year period or the 3-year period or whatever you negotiated. The lease purchase is more beneficial for being a landlord or for using the property as a rental. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So with the lease purchase, you're going to be contractually required to buy the home at the end of the term. So at the end of the 2 years. So you're going to want to make sure that you're able to buy the home at the end of the 2 years, meaning that you would qualify for like a traditional mortgage or you would have the funds to purchase it outright. Now, one of the things that makes this the better option is that you're put on the home or you're put on the deed of the home, meaning you're an owner on the home right away. You're not an owner at the end. You're an owner throughout that 2-year period. Meaning the seller can't make any changes. They can't go out take out any other liens. You're an equal owner on the home. This is pretty common. This isn't like some obscure thing. So again, when you're contacting sellers to do this, it's not an obscure thing. You're going to be able to find sellers that are willing to do this. Now, being an owner on the property right away is a huge advantage over the lease option. It gives you some protections against the seller. Again, they can't take out any liens or make any major changes to the property without your permission because you guys signed a contract. But it also allows you to rent it out right away. It allows you to Airbnb it right away, which means that you can start producing an income basically from day one. And now keep in mind, the sellers might already be landlords. They might already have the property rented. So they're not necessarily going to have an objection to you renting it out. It just gives you the ability to rent it out right away from day one so you can start producing an income. After this video, check out this video up here for a more detailed look at the lease purchase, because there are some pitfalls or some things that you're going to want to look out for. I also go into more detail about what you would need to qualify after the contract has expired. So check out that video. Again, after this one, you're going to want to stay tuned to this because there are some important reasons for why you would want to do this over a traditional mortgage, which we're going to talk about right now. So with a traditional mortgage, when you're buying a rental property or an investment home, if it's a 1-unit property, you're going to have to put between 15 and 20% down. And if you're buying a 2-unit or more, you're going to have to put at least 30% down. Oh, and if you only put the 15% down, you're going to have what's called PMI or private mortgage insurance, which is about $75 per 100,000 per month. So on our $300,000 example, you're going to have about $225 per month added to your payment by going that route. So one of the major advantages of rent to own over a traditional mortgage is that you can fully negotiate the deal, meaning you can fully negotiate the fees or negotiate them away. Again, it's usually pretty common to where you pay a small in relation to what a down payment would be, but you pay a small like security deposit or small upfront fee just so the seller knows that you're serious. But again, it's a drop in the bucket compared to mortgage down payment. And sometimes, depending on the deal, each deal's different, so it might take some wheeling and dealing. but you might be able to negotiate 0 down, and it might be in trade for a slightly higher monthly payment or something like that. Again, you have all the leeway to negotiate each one of these rent-to-owns. And the other thing is, remember those rising interest rates? On a traditional mortgage, on a rental property, interest rates are quite a bit higher, and you often have to pay what are called interest rate points. These are added to the closing costs, and they can often be thousands of dollars. 1 point is 1% of the loan amount, and again, that's added on to your closing costs. So on our $300,000 example, you put 20% down, you have $60,000 in down payment, then you have closing costs and your prepaid taxes and insurance. That's, say, another $8,000. That might be a little conservative. And you have an 8% interest rate. So on our $300,000, you come in with $68,000 at closing, and you have about a $2,100 a month monthly payment. Here's the clinker. The house 3 doors down from this house, the guy bought it as a rental 2 years ago with a 3% interest rate. So you have to charge $2,500 a month to make money. He only has to charge $1,700 a month. Who do you think the renter is going to go with? One of the big things about this market and these rapidly rising interest rates is that rental prices haven't increased that fast, or at least as fast as these interest rates. Landlords haven't been able to raise their prices without some serious issues as quickly as these interest rates have been rising. So with rent to own, you can negotiate a fair monthly rent where a portion of that rent is going to pay down the down payment or pay down the balance on our $300,000 house. This allows you to charge a more competitive rental rate up front, because if every other house in the neighborhood is charging $1,700 a month for rent and you have a $2,100 a month mortgage payment, then you're not going to be able to compete. You won't be able to make any money. So doing a rent to own is going to allow you to charge a more competitive rate up front. It's going to allow you to build equity so that when the contract expires and you try to go get a mortgage, you don't have to come in with a down payment. It's going to help you save on interest because you're not going to be paying that 8% interest rate that you'd be paying to a mortgage company. It allows you to start generating an income right away, and the renters are effectively paying your monthly payment. And it keeps money in your pocket. Remember, you'd have to come in with $68,000. I could think of a lot of reasons why I would want to keep $68,000 in my pocket. You could keep it in your investment accounts. You could do whatever you want with it. It's your money, but you wouldn't be giving it to a bank. Oh, and you don't have to meet traditional credit and income requirements right away. You would have to meet those at the end of the contract, but it would buy you time to make sure that you meet those requirements, all while making money off the property. Oh, and one of the cool things is that if the contract is for 2 years or more, you can use the income collected for that rental now as income on any mortgage application, meaning that you could potentially get a better interest rate and get better terms on your loan. You know what a rent to own is and why you should use it to buy a rental property over a traditional mortgage. Now check out this next video for tips to find out how to find rent to owns and a more in-depth look on the lease purchase, because there are some pitfalls that you're going to want to watch out for.